Welcome to the 2025 Chicago Auto Show. It is one of the earliest auto shows of the year, so let's go check out some of the coolest cars, SUVs, and trucks coming this year. When you first enter, we have Toyota on the left and then Ford on the right. And front and center is the new Mustang GTD Spirit of America, a special package for an already special, very limited car. The GTD is properly immense. It is literally a race car for the road. It's the first American-made car to run the Nürburgring in under 7 minutes. And just look at it. It is ridiculously wide. The Spirit of America package has the white livery, the blue and red painted stripes paying tribute to the Mustang. It's got exposed carbon aero, and it comes standard with the performance pack, and also under the gigantic rear wing, which has DRS, you have the Mustang lettering painted there, in case you weren't able to identify this as a Mustang with the tri-bar taillights. I mean, this is the most extreme iteration of the Mustang, the GTD on Cup 2R tires. You can get it with magnesium wheels. It's got just ridiculous race car stuff on it, and I'm excited to start seeing these reach customers in different specs. It was a crazy application type of process, so super limited, the absolute peak of Mustang performance. Now, continuing on through the Ford booth, we have ourselves a 2025 EcoBoost convertible. There is a Dark Horse back there, which is quite a lot of fun. This was the peak of Coyote Mustang performance. To me, it feels like a spiritual successor to the Boss 302 Laguna Seca, right? It pairs the Tremec 6-speed manual transmission with the highest output we've had of the 5-liter naturally aspirated V8, and you can get in this really crazy blue ember paint that has a ton of metallic flake. When the sun hits it, that is a really cool paint job. But compared to the GTD, sadly, the Dark Horse seems ordinary until you look at the price, right? These are, $70-ish thousand. They start at $64,380 right there. That is well over $300,000. So it's a whole different stratosphere. But so we've got the Dark Horse here, the regular 5-liter for the Mustang family, and technically this is part of the Mustang family. We have ourselves a Mach-E all-electric crossover. Continuing on, this color is actually really cool. I haven't seen this car. It's like a pink cranberry kind of purpley color. That's fun for sure. We have Lightning, Bronco finished in eruption green. I'm gonna quickly run through some of the vehicles that we've already had in production for a while, like the Bronco Raptor, the regular Bronco, mainly trying to focus on some of the newer vehicles that we have not seen before. The Bronco Sport is getting a Sasquatch package, which it's not that. Let's see, they have one here, but it ups the capabilities of the baby Bronco, right? Here it is. This is the Sasquatch package for the Bronco Sport. It is available for the Badlands and the Outer Banks. It brings 29-inch all-terrain tires. You got steel underbody protection with front and rear recovery points, and actually add Bilstein rear shock absorbers. And you have steel front bumpers right here. Nope, that's not steel. That's steel. There we go. Interesting. For the baby Bronco. And then here, under this display, this is the Mustang RTR. It incorporates some Dark Horse hardware for the EcoBoost. It is done with the RTR team, right? So this is a one-off kind of wrap on it, but it'll be a performance variant offered from the factory EcoBoost with like some of the higher tier Dark Horse hardware. So this will be very interesting. And in terms of the brand collaboration, obviously Ford and Longate and RTR, they have a long-standing partnership, but looks like they're making a special version of the Mustang EcoBoost. The Maverick has also gotten a slight refresh, and one of the cool versions of it is the Lobo, kind of throwing it back to the street truck, lowered truck era. Very different from the Raptor treatment to vehicles, which lifts them, puts them on massive tires, more off-road capability. This is supposed to be for on-road driving. These wheels are pretty cool. They changed the front styling a bit. This one's got the blacked out grille, the black and white Ford logo. And the logo brings like different drive modes, lower suspension, slightly enhanced brakes, kind of that whole set there, just make it a little more sportily tuned in an already very small and compact truck. The Maverick is cool. It's something that's affordable. It brings you some of the truck usability, but it's not enormous and has sold quite well from what I've seen. They're definitely popular when it first came out, and kind of pair that with the Tremor, right? You've got the Lobo street truck, Tremor, like a lightweight Raptor. I call the Tremor line the low-calorie Raptor. It's got some of the off-road credentials. It looks the part, but it's not quite over the top like the Raptors would be. I think they also made the screen larger in the mid-cycle update for the Maverick. We have ourselves a couple Rangers here. The Ranger Raptor, a lot of fun. Still weird to me why they didn't go with the orange amber DRL for the Raptor. They have the big Ford lettering on the front grille, so that ties it in with the other bigger boy Raptors, right? But I think it's a missed kind of family styling design cue element. Even if like legally they didn't need to run the triple running lights because it's not as wide, it would have just been a cool design decision. We have ourselves Lightning, another one here. The new Expedition, we'll check that out in a second. The Raptor R. Now that the TRX is gone, it's gone to the Ram Row, right, which is a 6-cylinder. This remains the last supercharged V8 absolute beast of a truck, right? The Raptor R, the values are still commanding. They're going for over MSRP, typically from what I've seen. And I mean, yeah, supercharged GT500 engine in a Raptor, they're hilarious. And I love that you can go into full rear-wheel drive. When I spent a week with one, did some fun off-road rally shenanigans, just doing donuts and drifting it. This thing is a whole ton of fun. Being used as a daily driver, it's utterly excessive, but you know, why not if you can afford it? The new Expedition has been overhauled too in the pretty competitive full-size SUV segment. I don't know how I feel about this black trim applique in the back, kind of this like two-tone in the back, but this does bring a split gate. And on the inside, we have a 24-inch panoramic display. It'll seat up to 8 people. There's also a Tremor version of it too, which is going to be just like in the other ones, a little bit more off-roady feeling. You got 4-wheel drive, underbody shielding, 33-inch all-terrain tires, and so forth. But here's an update to the Expedition. I'll look to grab one for a week and spend some time with it and get a little more in-depth. This one has a platinum trim, is going to be the more luxurious one, but see how it compares with the latest generation Suburban Tahoe, which I have spent time with. F-150s over here. Here is an Expedition Tremor, like I was talking about. See, much more aggressive all-terrain tires. This green paint's also pretty cool with this goldish yellow bronze accent. Also under the letters on the hood, we have that accent color. And then a quick look inside. So there's that big new 24-inch panoramic screen, the center screen. So it's kind of a similar layout to the new Lincoln Nautilus, which you spent time with. The steering wheel actually looks the same. You got a Squircle steering wheel, but it doesn't go quite as wide for the big screen. Differentiation between a Ford and a Lincoln platform, right? We have Tremor on here. It's pretty cool. Definitely just spend some time with one of these. Explorer ST, I'm spending some time with one of those in like almost, I think, a week or two. Gonna spend a week living with one of those. And then the latest Police Interceptor. Fun fact, when I started my career at Ford, I actually did a rotation working on the police vehicle team. So that was a really cool experience. All right, there's the Ford booth. You can also do ride-alongs in the Broncos over the little like mini simulated off-road indoor course type of thing. Go up and down, show you some of the capabilities of the Bronco. The big hill's over there, it's pretty cool. If you want some Ford merch, they have a whole little merch store set up here too in their booth at the auto show. And I do really like that they still do the interactive kind of ride experiences. A lot of the auto shows seem to be moving to incorporating that. So we've got this big mountain. You can climb up on a Bronco riding passenger. They have drivers that do loops during the auto show days. Jeep also, I think, has theirs. We'll go check that out in a moment. And there's the EV test track. So that's one of the trends we're noticing with auto shows. It's not just purely stationary. They want some amount of experiential stuff for people attending. In terms of the Ford booth, pretty big footprint. A lot of cars on display. They're bringing a lot of new products. I mean, a new Expedition will probably be a big volume seller in that segment. The Mustang GTD is always cool to see. And actually, the Maverick Lobo is actually pretty cool. With that, let's continue over to Toyota. I'm gonna make my way through the show floor in a clockwise direction from booth to booth, giving you guys a look at the layout of the show, but also specifically, obviously, highlighting some of the new cars we're gonna get in 2025. So Toyota, let's see. A lot of this stuff has been out. Corolla Cross, GR Corolla, which the big news is now available with an automatic transmission, which this one is equipped. I personally would still go for the manual, but definitely would like to try out one. Still have ourselves the GR86, the Supra. We knew it was coming. We knew it would be essentially the Tacoma in SUV form, but the Toyota 4Runner, very popular enthusiast vehicle. And I am definitely excited to check one out up close and go for a drive at some point. You can see the similarities with the Tacoma. These things are cool. The Trail Hunter, I saw these on the road and I'm like, dang, this thing looks pretty aggressive and built up, so that would be cool to spend some time with. And then we've got some concepts. These are purely concepts. TRD Surf, for if you're in SoCal, you want to go hit the waves or whatever. That's a large turbo badge, in case you weren't sure. This looks like a SEMA build. And then over here, whoa, that's cool. Land Cruiser. I saw a company that just offered a like upfit kit for the Land Cruiser, making it wider. I don't remember if it's Arctic trucks or not, but these things are also really cool and I want to spend some time with one of these. I gotta say though, now that the Land Cruiser is a slightly smaller segment, I feel like there's gonna be a lot of overlap with the 4Runner over there. So I need to try them kind of both to see and how I feel about the similarities and differences. But on the surface, they're a lot closer, right? The Land Cruiser isn't the gigantic behemoth anymore. This is the smaller one, whereas the 4Runner stays essentially the same kind of segment. Toyota, again, was the best-selling automaker in the world. And it makes sense. They make vehicles to fill essentially every niche. They cater to enthusiasts with the performance sports cars like the GR. They make affordable vehicles. They make some higher end vehicles. So yeah, Toyota is doing well. And it's very interesting because they haven't really made a proper effort into pure EVs. Look at the Toyota BZ4XZY Q74, whatever they named it, right? It's like they threw some Scrabble tiles on the table and goes, yes, that's the name. That is not a great EV. They're really going for the hybridization strategy. So we'll see how it pays off for them long term, but you cannot deny that Toyota is doing well and they have some cool stuff for sure. I definitely am looking forward to trying out the new 4Runner. I have not driven the Land Cruiser yet. I really want to. And like the GR Corolla, things like that, they're really exciting. Right next to Toyota, we have Kia. And I gotta say, Kia is doing some really interesting, bold, daring things with their styling, their lighting elements. When you compare some of the newer Kia vehicles with what Toyota's offering, I would say Toyota's design is a little more conservative and you would say boring in some instances. Kia definitely, they're not making boring looking cars, and some of the new stuff I've actually really enjoyed spending time with. The lighting elements are so cool. They go along with that orange kind of amber DRL theme, but it's executed differently depending on the vehicle, right? So we've got the new Sorento here with the really cool orange DRLs. Spent time with a hybrid one. It was pretty good. The Carnival, I hate to say it, but it's a minivan, right? But I actually kind of like it. When you get the fancy executive rear seat package, it is so cool with the reclining seats. They've gone to the double big screens on multiple platforms. This, I thought they facelifted EV6. I thought it was a change to the front lighting. So this is the pre-facelift one. You can play a mini basketball here if you want, only appropriate being in the home turf of the Chicago Bulls. All right, that's the K4, which we just drove. And again, take a look at the styling. It's a compact, entry-level sedan, and like the crazy LED lighting in back. The fastback look, this one's got the panoramic sunroof open right there. They hide the rear door handle here in the C-pillar, so you do not have a handle there. It gives it a cleaner look. Up front, pretty wild lighting and styling too. And in GT line turbo trim, this thing is pretty impressive for, again, under $30,000. Every single K4 starts at under 30 grand. Front wheel drive, they're still pretty efficient. And it's got acoustic, if you get 18-inch wheels on a K4, it has acoustic foam inside, which I was like, that's like luxury car stuff. The black and white interior. So Kia's doing some pretty cool, fun things. Like you can get matte finish paints from the factory. Here is a K5 in a satin gray. I remember when you had to pay insane money to get a BMW frozen paint color, and now you can order it on a Kia from the factory. So that's really, really interesting for sure. What else do they have? Carnival, Sportage. Oh yeah, we gotta check this out. So the EV9, their flagship full-size electric SUV. There's a GT version of it now, which for Kia, GT is their performance sporty. They bump up the power. So this one is still a GT line, not a GT, but there is a GT available or coming soon. The EV9 is pretty cool. You can also order it in matte finish paints. They have the fancy lighting up front. Like, take a look at this element. The animations and stuff, when you lock and unlock it, is just really, really unique. And I haven't seen another automaker do something like this on their front fascia. And then they've got some cool concepts. This is like a adventure, off-road, rugged, all-terrain EV9. This thing is pretty cool. It's got the roof tent up there, the weekender. Just take a look at it. It's like a all-terrain living van type of thing. Almost kind of reminds me of like some sort of like space moon rover thing, like science fiction kind of stuff, right? This is just really, really cool, and it shows that Kia has fun, right? They're trying to make things that are cool, interesting, enthusiast focused, not just simply making the most efficient, affordable little hatchbacks nonstop, right? They're making everything in their segment a little bit more interesting, which I really think is cool, and I think it's working for them. Which brings us to Honda. We have the Type R, still very popular, front-wheel drive, manual little hatchback. I was actually just thinking to myself when I was stuck in traffic looking at the new Accord, I'm like, this is a pretty good looking vehicle. It's also got that Sportback design coming back here. We have the Honda Prologue, which is platform shared with General Motors, so this and the Blazer EV is essentially Blazer EV and Honda skin, but I think that partnership has been dissolved and they're not going to be continuing, so Honda will be developing some of their own EVs. It looks like Acura just has a sub-booth inside the Honda footprint. Makes sense, right? We have our TLX A-Spec. We have a performance EV concept. I'm glad automakers are trying some concepts again. For the longest time, it seemed like the wild, crazy, over-the-top concepts that we knew weren't necessarily going to come to production, they just kind of went away. When I was a little kid going to Detroit Auto Show, you would see like spaceship-looking concept vehicles that maybe indicated a future design direction or just were something interesting to provoke thoughts about the brand. But things like this are definitely not going to reach production in this exact form, but it's just cool to see and lets designers have some fun. But an interesting Acura concept there. Let's see, what else do we have? RIP to the NSX. We're not seeing NSXs here at the auto shows anymore. The thing going through my mind as I'm walking through the Honda booth is that rumored Honda and Nissan partnership merger. I haven't heard anything about it. I don't know if it's still happening, but if it does, that would be very, very interesting, but not sure if it's actually gonna happen. Next up, we have Chevrolet, and I'm going to resist the urge to make a beeline to the Corvettes. We'll do the rest of the lineup first before we make our way over to the most exciting car on display here at the auto show. So we've got some of the various crossovers, Trax, Equinox over there, Equinox EV. We have the new Suburban and Tahoe family. We spent some time living with a Suburban on, again, 24-inch wheels like this one. It's a little bit alarming to me that SUVs are coming on 24-inch wheels right now, and they look perfectly the part, right? It doesn't look like it's on gigantic, oversized wheels, but the newest generation has really upped the technology, the luxury. This one is a high country. It's got the nice stitching in wood, but it's also upped the price. The one I was driving, I should take a look at this one. Yeah, this one's $95,000. Oh my goodness. The one I was driving was like $92,000. So Suburbans are almost $100,000 now. And we still have the GMC, and then you have an Escalade, right? So like these things are expensive. The Silverado EV RST. Oh, finally seeing one in not black. I feel like they've all been black initially when they came out. The range on these things is properly impressive, mainly because it has an absolutely enormous battery, over 200 kilowatt hours. The battery in this thing probably weighs as much as a Chevy Cruze, but you cannot deny that the Silverado EV has some pretty impressive range numbers. And now we come to Corvette, and they have the full lineup on display here. Cutaway of the ZR1, Z06, Stingray, E-Ray, and of course the ZR1. Oh boy, you can see the split window engine cover back there. It's got the blue wheels which really matches well with the blue stripes on this one. We have the aero duct up front that channels air. It makes the front trunk complete, it's gone, right? So practicality takes a hit, but you know, that's the cost of having 1,064 horsepower. This thing is gonna be just absolutely ballistic. The front aero actually looks similar to actually looks exactly the same as my Z06 with the Z07 package, but with that added aero channel there going through the hood, that's how you can balance out the just absolutely enormous rear wing. Just take a look at that absolutely massive rear wing with the ZTK track package. It is so tall that when I was doing the backgrounder, to try to close the rear engine compartment, I'd like go on my tiptoes to press it down. It is enormous, absolutely enormous. So I have the quad exhaust tips out back like the Z06, the 345 Cup 2R tires, carbon ceramic brakes, of course. Yeah, it's gonna be crazy. It's gonna be absolutely crazy. When you have the coupe, you have that added intake right there, and of course on the side, I cannot wait to experience the ZR1. And actually, they have the engine here on a stand, the LT7. 1,064 horsepower, twin turbo, flat plane crank. Yeah, that's, and the blue powder coated manifold's pretty cool too. This is gonna be utterly ridiculous of a car. The E-Ray, spent plenty of time with that. It's the more grand touring supercar in the lineup, right? It still has the LT2 electric all-wheel drive, so it's a small motor and battery for the front wheels. You can order it with carbon wheels like this one here. It's the same wide body treatment as the Z06, but a completely different personality. Done lots of videos talking about comparing the E-Ray, the Z06, my thoughts on them. It's a very, very cool option in the Corvette lineup. I just personally prefer the Z06. Hello, Stingray. But the Z06, oh, I actually thought about ordering mine in orange, but when one of my friends said the front end kind of looks like a jack-o'-lantern, I was like, oh, okay, I can't unsee that anymore, so I ended up going for rapid blue. This is the Sebring orange paint. It's got some nice metallic flake to it. Actually, it's a really, really nice looking paint. I like that. This one also has a new habanero interior, which is all that orange leather, the orange seat belts and accent stitching. That works really well with this Sebring orange exterior paint. And this is always really cool to see when manufacturers bring a cutout model where they show the inner workings, what's going on under the skin. Here with the ZR1, you can see, yeah, no front trunk anymore. There's a heat exchanger in there and also the aero ducting, the massive coolers on the side. You really see those Cup 2R tires where they're track slicks essentially. They're not the greatest if it's rainy or cold. I took those off of my car pretty much immediately, but when you're putting down this kind of power on the track, you need 345 section Cup 2Rs out back. See the LT7 back there. They beefed up the transmission slightly to handle the power, and also the cross section of the rear wing is really cool. It is a wing, right? So they have to carefully tune it. Even just a little bit offset, it can upset the balance of the vehicle. But the cutaway models that Corvette does are definitely a really cool thing to see underneath the skin. All right, let's go to Hyundai now. We have the new Ioniq 9 based off the same platform as the EV9, so a full SUV here, filling out the Ioniq family, and they go along with those little square lighting elements, so very clearly ties in with the rest of the family. This green paint looks pretty cool too. An interesting choice is the wheel arch here it's both sort of curved. You obviously have the circular wheel cut out and then this added little body colored piece there. So really cool design choices. We have the flush door handles. So this will be cool to see. I imagine it'll feel very similar to the EV9, but just the Hyundai take to it, right? Just a little bit more premium, kind of like the Ioniq 5 versus the EV6. We then have the Santa Fe, which went way more boxy and rugged in styling. Lighting is also really, really cool up front. It kind of looks like a Korean version of a Land Rover Defender from certain angles, but obviously capability-wise is a totally different point to that. We have, Ioniq 5, and I still haven't driven one of those, and it's been so well received as a fun EV. People have tracked them before. It makes the noises, the simulated gear shifts. I haven't gotten to try one out yet, and I really, really want to. I need to go email somebody from Hyundai, be like, hey, can I have one of these for a week? I really want to try it out. This thing looks cool. It's a EV performance hot hatch, although it's technically like a little tiny crossover size, but yeah, the Ioniq 5N has been very, very well received in terms of EV performance sportiness. There's a quick look at the Hyundai booth, the Sonata. We can take a look at the Ioniq 6. This one's a little bit funky looking. I think I saw some insane lease deals on this. It's really efficient, probably because it looks like a fish, right? Like you look at the styling is interesting, a little more polarizing. You'll also note manufacturers have very different kinds of booths these days. 10 years ago, they had the most insane things they would build. They'd put cars on walls. They'd have all these different platforms and backdrops. Some manufacturers still go all out. I'll show you Subaru later. Subaru has a pretty crazy booth. Some of them, they just get the carpeting, a couple backdrops. And I say this is one of the more simple booths for Hyundai. Nissan is teasing us with this mural of the R35 GTR that is no longer. RIP to the GTR. You went for a very, very long time, but you were a pretty exciting, awesome platform. Instead with the Z now. I do like the blue. The blue over blue was a cool combination. I think the pricing and the kind of performance focus of the Z missed the mark just a little bit. The Nismo fixed a lot of those things, but then the Nismo wasn't available with a manual transmission. So it's like, why? Like a Nismo Z with a manual transmission for a reasonable price point would do well for enthusiasts. We've got the all-new Murano, which does have a pretty cool interior. On the top tier trims, they have this color fade gradient they're calling Murano glass. Apparently, the Murano name, I didn't know this until recently, comes from this like Venetian glass in Italy, the traditional way of doing glass work. And they're leaning into that with the Murano, giving you a quote-unquote spa-like experience on the inside. Some elements are inspired by the Aria. You see that wood-looking interior trim piece. That's where the climate buttons and such show through. And then new Pathfinder and the Armada. So they've refreshed their full-size SUV to go against things like the Expedition, the Tahoe. This is a Platinum Reserve, so this is the top tier luxury one. It really gets pretty close to the Infiniti QX80. Like it's nice, and it's had like massage seats. We've got the double screens there. You do have an actual panel of buttons for your drive modes and your climate there instead of the lower touchscreen on an Infiniti. I think I actually like that more, but pretty cool. Stitched leather. The Platinum Reserve is definitely nice, and all trims of it, including the new Pro 4X, give the Armada a much needed update. So we'll see if big SUVs like this and other updates to the lineup can carry Nissan through. The Frontier also got a mild refresh, so slight changes to the Frontier. On the inside, we've got a newer screen, and in case you forget what you're driving, gigantic Frontier letters. I've got one of these for a week later on too, so I'll be spending some time living with it. The Rogue Rock Creek, kind of light off-road package. We did a little bit of off-roading, and it was fun. And then the Kicks, they're affordable, tiny little SUV. And what else do they have? They still make the Sentra? Huh. Obviously, everybody has heard about the difficulties that Nissan is facing. They're trying. They're updating their lineup in the vehicles, and there's no way to sugarcoat it. Some of them desperately needed it. One of the executives said that he acknowledged the fact that the Murano, the previous gen, was on life support, and that's not a good thing for a manufacturer. But that being said, some of the new vehicles I've spent time with, the Armada specifically, I did like it. It was nice. The Murano was cool, not kind of my kind of thing. It had some nice interior touches to it too. The Z, I already kind of talked about that. I wish if they do a Nismo Z with a manual transmission and maybe lower the price point just a little bit, can maybe steal some shares from people buying Mustang Dark Horses and Supras and BMW M2s. We'll see where it goes for Nissan. I hope they continue forward because it is a cool brand with a lot of cool history, and just some of the recent decisions may have just come back to hurt them a little bit as time has gone on. But gotta say, they're doing what they can do to try to update the platform. Hopefully it's not too little too late. Next, we have Volkswagen, and the coolest thing they have is there's finally the ID bus, bringing back the iconic VW bus in all-electric form, and they're in these really cool colors. I think I saw one that was black recently. They just seemed wrong, right? They need to be in these crazy pastel Skittles colors. The two-tone finish is really cool. So they preserved the ethos, kind of the personality of it, and just modernized it and electrified it, right? ID Buzz. I would love to spend some time with one of these. They're available all-wheel drive, all the interior packaging, different innovations. So like do you consider this a minivan? Is this cool? I think it's cool. It's the coolest minivan option type of thing out there right now. Would definitely love to spend some time with one of these, but the new ID Buzz is available. Price point is, I think I saw some people complaining about the high price point, so we'll see how well they sell, but definitely a really fun thing in the VW lineup. And then we have some of the more standard offerings. Atlas Cross Sport here. The new Tiguan is up there. The Taos, the little one. Man, I'm glad green paints are making a comeback. There's a lot of really cool green paints. Look at that. Since we're at the Volkswagen booth, we can talk about some of the automakers that aren't here, like Audi, right? They're in the Volkswagen Group family, but they're not attending this show. And that has been a trend over the last couple years of auto shows, with many manufacturers pulling out. It is very expensive to put on these huge displays. They're starting to consolidate to maybe like LA, New York, just a couple of the really big markets for the auto shows. Like Audi isn't here, Mercedes isn't here. Some of the different manufacturers seem to have maybe a local dealer that they're supporting to bring some vehicles on display, but it's not the same. It's very different from what I remember as a kid going to the Detroit Auto Show with my family. My dad would take me. Like, it was just crazy over the top. I still come to this show here because it's a pretty big layout. There's a lot of manufacturers that still come and get a preview of different cars in Chicago. But for example, this year's Detroit Auto Show, I forgot that it was happening until a friend texted me and goes, "Hey, are you at the Detroit show?" And I was like, "It's today?" So I wish there were more of the auto shows like they used to be, but it also makes sense from the manufacturer standpoint if the ROI isn't there. So on that topic, something they're trying to do at auto shows to reinvigorate them, bring some more excitement in, is these test drive experience loops that they do indoors. So this one here specifically is an EV test track. So we have an Optic, we have Escalade IQ, talk about a size difference there, Lyriq, BMW, so different, and there's a bunch of ID Buzzes there too. So they have these indoor test loops to add some more dynamic aspect to auto shows. So versus in the past, long time ago, right, 10, 15 years ago, auto shows are just stationary. Just go see the car stationary, sit in some. But now they have this added aspect of it, which I will say probably is really cool for consumers to get to be in these different vehicles. Maybe they're trying to think about a purchase decision, and that ultimately is the point of auto shows. It is to launch new vehicles and do the media stuff, but it is a consumer-facing show for people to come see cars. Surprise, surprise, Tesla actually has vehicles on display. So the new Model 3, big updates. The interior is actually quite a bit nicer now, and they changed the styling a bit. And the new Model 3 Performance is, I test drove one, it's properly quick. It's like as quick as an M3 for half the price. Obviously, an M3 has many other aspects to it too, but you can't deny the acceleration aspect. I mean, Plaid kind of won that. We have Cybertruck, which we have covered. We've driven them. There's two right here. They are very, Polestar has been spun off under Volvo. It's been happening for a while now. Instead of having just the Polestar engineered like the performance little tune, they have their own models, and they're just going by numbers. You got 2, 3, 4. So we got the Polestar 2 right here, the Polestar 4, the Polestar 3 over here. I personally cannot wait for that two-door convertible coupe concept. What do they call it? The O2? I think that thing is absolutely gorgeous. But these have some cool elements too. Look at the way the hood slides down here for some aero channeling. Polestar, I think, is starting to build a little bit more brand equity, right? Because if you just see this logo, I think the casual observer, the casual consumer may not know what that is. It does not have the brand equity, and they may not even associate with Volvo. I'm not sure, but this here is the Polestar 3, the 4. You can kind of see the lineup right there. I haven't driven the new Polestars. Polestar 2, I think, was the first one that came out. The Polestar 1 was that crazy plug-in hybrid, $150,000 luxury two-door coupe kind of thing. So that was not necessarily a mainstream push. The Polestar 2 definitely is. And then we have something I've been quite excited to check out, the new Lucid Gravity. So they're adding an SUV to their lineup. They started off with the Air, which I've been quite impressed with. Every time I spend a week living with a Lucid Air, regardless of trim level, I've ended up liking it quite a lot, especially the Pure, the entry-level base trim. I think that's a nice sweet spot in the lineup because you get a lot of the fantastic elements of the Air, the driving dynamics, the efficiency, the cool interior, the tech, for a very, very reasonable price point. Obviously, they get pretty ballistic, right? The Sapphire is just a ridiculous performance sedan in EV form. But now they also have the Gravity, and these things are needed to help build the brand. A flagship, like borderline luxury, very expensive sedan has a much more limited market size compared to SUVs, crossovers, things that are more affordable, and they've applied their Lucid technology and ingenuity to the SUV segment. So we have that curved floating screen, this big lower screen down here, a lot of similar elements. The roof is pretty cool. It's like got multiple segments. The windshield continues all the way up, but then it's got this separate, what's this, like a bar in the middle over the B pillar. And we have a full 3 rows. It is very low. Like it feels almost more like minivan height versus like big SUV height, right? So it's not crazy tall. The wheels, although, are crazy gigantic. They've got their Bear logo. You see it, the Dream Edition with the Tahoe, California coordinates. They do a very good job with just really cool interior trims and themes too. Big fan of this saddle tan interior color. And then you can see with the front trunk. Go ahead, relax and sit in the front trunk if you need to. Can't wait to spend some more time with one of these Lucid Gravities. Rivian's got the R2, R3X. Look, but please don't touch. Does that apply? Does that apply here?
Thanks, Eddie. Now you can't get in the car.
Oh, why? We have the R2, smaller than the R1, and then the R3X. So these will be coming next to help Rivian continue to expand. Michael forgave me very quickly. The R2 is really cool. It's like a slightly smaller version of the R1 with some really cool new innovations. So Michael already showed me some really cool stuff with the R2, R3, like the new steering wheel controls with that smaller screen there. They're really fun to play around with, and it's got all that cool packaging innovation. And take a look at the graphics. The new Rivian graphics are so cool. They have that like illustrated look to it. So the new infotainment system in the Gen 2 R1 I really liked, and I am very excited for the R2. And take a look at that massive panoramic glass roof. That does a really good job making the cabin feel very light, airy, open. So even though it's smaller than the R1, you're not gonna feel claustrophobic in it at all. And then if you want even more fun and excitement, that's what Michael Farah's for, and also the R3X. This thing is going to be absolutely epic. So it has been confirmed now that apparently this is coming first.
Yeah, we're excited. R3, obviously on the mid-size platform, R3X. The people want it, we're going to give the people what they want.
Yes.
will be coming. Obviously R2 first, and that's our priority.
Yeah.
But when it's time, R3X will be leading.
So R3X before regular R3. Tri-motor, little rally hatchback thing. Like, some of the design cues are so cool. Just the lettering in the back where it's kind of like it stands out in relief. Looks like it's carved from a block of stone. The wider rally tires, right? It's just much more aggressive. And the interior has also got some really cool. Let me go around the other side, show you guys that. This little like arrow wing back here. And the size of it is much more compact. So the inside, we've got this blue and red stitching on the steering wheel. Seats look pretty cool. Also a massive panoramic glass roof. This is just a one-off concept demo vehicle, but eventually when the R3X comes, I want one.
I got you.
I am genuinely quite excited for the R2 and R3X, especially the R3X. The Gen 2 R1 is a lot of small changes. We just spent a week living with a Gen 2 R1T, but they add up to just improve the experience. The lighting changes are, again, relatively minor, but that's cool. The software changes are much more noticeable, and the most exciting thing is it sets up Rivian for the future, right? They simplified their platform, went from 17 ECUs down to 7, saving like 1.6 miles of wiring, and clearly they were impressive enough for VW to toss in like $5 billion on a joint venture. So in my mind, the R2 is going to just keep building upon that success. The R3X is going to be a riot, right? If It's like a tri-motor, like 600, 800 horsepower, little pocket rocket with all the fun Rivian innovations and their really, really nice software and so forth. That's gonna be a lot of fun. There's a family zone and we have a Lego Chevy Silverado, all built of Legos. That's pretty cool. When I was younger, my dream job was to become a Lego master builder. They're the people who design sets and they get to build the big models, the custom models for like Legolands. Would have been a really, really fun job. Obviously, still love Legos to this day. And then we have the Rivian commercial van, which you'll have seen as Amazon delivery vans, but they're gonna be available to other fleet applications, other commercial applications. And I mean, compared to what delivery vans used to look like, this is the space age in comparison. Cool lighting up front. Again, we've seen these as Amazon vans. I think there's another big company that also has them, but let's take a look at the inside.
Over here.
Oh, all right.
So it's a true walk-in van. You can walk right through the cabin. Yeah, please.
This is
And this version is smaller. If you've ever seen our Amazon van on the road.
Yes, the Amazon vans,
they
yeah.
have, we call that the 700.
Okay.
It's actually like 660 cubic feet. This one's the 500. So this is both more narrow
Okay.
and shorter than the Amazon van.
But height is still the same.
Height is the same.
Okay.
So driving in the city, you know, this one will be a little bit easier for tight corners. But it has less cargo, and you can get an upfit right at the factory with shelves.
Okay.
So the walkway will be a little bit more narrow in this one than the 700. But again, easier to maneuver, a little bit cheaper.
Okay, so it's only one roof height. It's just you're changing width and length.
Correct.
Right now.
Yep,
Okay.
Exactly.
I mean, I could stand up here. I'm 6'3" and I've got plenty of headroom.
Exactly.
But these are only going to be available for commercial fleet applications, right?
It will need to be registered to the vehicle when we start taking orders. Yes.
I see. Okay, so like you can't buy one yet and build it into a camper van.
Because
that would be cool.
Yeah, I mean, with an upfit partner, you may be able to do that.
Okay. Nice.
And if you have a small business, you may be able to do that.
I have a business. It could be my new media van. What are the specs in terms of like battery configuration, capacity, and things like that?
Yep. So the 500, what we're in now, will have a payload of 2,600 pounds, a range of 161 miles.
Okay.
And it has a 100 kilowatt hour LFP battery pack.
Okay.
The 700 also has a range of 160 miles, payload's around 2,300 pounds.
Okay.
And still has the 100 kilowatt hour battery pack as well.
Okay.
We're exploring a longer range version of the bigger van.
Okay, and you can charge it at Rivian stations now, the new Rivian ones. And
you can charge it at the Rivian Adventure network.
Okay.
But other third-party networks as well.
Okay. So it's a CCS connector.
Correct.
Okay.
CCS connector.
And you can use the adapter for NACS and
You can.
Okay.
You can.
Okay.
Not on all networks, but you can.
Cool. Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Cool. Thanks for coming by.
Yeah. So this is pretty cool. I mean, that screen looks exactly like you would find in an R1T. The really nice software. Look at those cameras, the resolution. So you get the Rivian Touch in a commercial van, plenty of space, having spent time in like transits and so forth. This is definitely, I would say, nicer. And price point wise, this one here is supposed to be like $79,900, and the larger one that Tom was talking about will be $83-ish, and they will qualify for the tax credit. So go ahead and step down. Yeah. So if you have a small business, you want a van, this could be an option. Now the range is not enormous, right? That number is designed for like short distances going around and then plug in and charge. So I think if you wanted to turn this into an overlanding vehicle compared to like maybe a diesel powered Sprinter van, that would be a slight downside. But then there's also upsides too, because with the battery pack you can run all sorts of accessories and so other things like that. So it'll be interesting to see. It was cool getting to explore the Rivian commercial van. Something cool about Rivian is everybody I've met who works there is very passionate about the product and company. That guy right there, he's been at Rivian for 10 years. He said he was employee like 22. He was part of making the Amazon partnership possible. That's like really, really cool when employees really believe in a company and stick with it to see it grow. And I really do hope Rivian continues to do well. And now we've found ourselves in a sea of GMCs. So they're just kind of parked here in a grid with a big GMC backdrop. I don't think GMC has launched anything new recently. The Terrain, yep, that's out. And there's also the new Yukon, but it's been, I think those are already at dealerships. So Sierra EV, we spent time with that. Hummer, hilarious, tons of fun. Don't road trip one because you'll spend an absolute fortune. I took one from Detroit to Chicago and back and spent $230 charging it because it is an absolute behemoth and it's not very efficient, but when you off-road them, they're also a lot of fun. So check out the vlog. I spent a week living with a Hummer SUV. We did some off-roading, we did some road tripping and so forth, tried out Super Cruise. Obviously, I've also done the truck too. Acadia, where are the Yukons? Here we go. We have the Yukon AT4. So this has also gotten a similar update treatment to the Suburban Tahoe and the Escalade. We'll go check out Escalade or Cadillac in a moment. They're the same platform. They're platform mates. So wait a second. So it starts at $97,000. Did you see the price on that that Suburban High Country? So like, I mean, it makes sense for GMC to be priced here, Chevy here, and then Cadillac there, but dang, are these prices getting kind of crazy. The inside's nice though. I like the vertically oriented screen more than the landscape one on the Chevys, but you have plenty of digital real estate on all these platforms now. See another color combination on this interior, a Denali, and then this one should be a Denali Ultimate, which is essentially, it's like an Escalade. It's as close an Escalade as you can get without getting the Cadillac badge. You get massaging seats, a nice leather, like they're pretty impressive. All right, so Stellantis has this giant booth here at the edge of the hall that stretches across with all their different brands under the Stellantis umbrella, and you have the Camp Jeep there in the background. The big news for Jeep is the new Wagoneer S, all-electric Jeep Wagoneer. Let's take a quick peek inside. Ooh, this red interior is pretty cool. Familiar looking Uconnect screen. Interested to try this out. I think the news that was just announced, Wagoneer S logo right there, is there is a lower trim with slightly less power, slightly lower price point. That's the one sitting up there. We have the Grand Wagoneer, the big boy one. They're pretty luxurious. I did enjoy my time with the Grand Wagoneer. We have the Gladiator, Wrangler. They're just continuing on with these. But Camp Jeep is a lot of fun. You can just hop in a Jeep, go for a ride along. And then this is the Ram Row, RHO. This is the, I guess effectively the TRX replacement, the high performance off-road focused Ram. Sadly, no more Hellcat V8. Instead, it's got the Hurricane Inline 6, the new interior. I'm excited to give it a shot to see what it feels like. I mean, a regular Raptor, when that first came out with the EcoBoost V6, everybody's like, oh my gosh, it doesn't have a V8 anymore. But then we eventually got the V8 in the Raptor R. The problem with the TRX is it started off with a V8 and then they took it away. And now we have a Hurricane Inline 6. Capability-wise, I'm sure it's still very, very impressive, but I want to try it out to see what it's like. So there is the Ram display. And then we shall continue forward. We'll go across. Oh, they've got even Grand Cherokees up there. It's not just Wranglers. All the Jeeps are pretty capable. Although I can't imagine a Grand Wagoneer doing very well on that. That might be a little bit too big. Showing breakover angle. Well, that one's a 392. I thought it sounded good. Oh, Chrysler. I feel kind of bad for Chrysler. They make one car now. One. The 300's gone, and it's just the Pacifica. So I don't know how long a brand can survive just building one vehicle. It's got to be tough. This concept is pretty though. I mean, look at that thing. Build one of these. That'll be good. It's the Halcyon concept. All electric Chrysler. Previewing their future. It looks really, really cool, and this is what a concept should do, right? Evoke some excitement. Again, like that windshield would obviously never come to production. Some of these proportions and so forth would never come to production, but it looks really cool, and that is the intent of a concept. We'll see what happens with the Chrysler brand. Dodge is still doing Dodge things, right? They still have the Durango, Hellcat, Hornet, but the Charger has been met with some controversy. I haven't gotten to drive one yet, but some of the reviews that I saw were less than thrilled. I think it looks pretty cool. It needs bigger wheels. Bigger wheels would probably help that a little bit, maybe just a little bit lowered, but some of the body lines, the front wing, right, with this arrow piece there, the lighting, it does look kind of traditional muscle car presence, and the new logo is pretty cool up front. But the important things are, how does it drive? How does the powertrain feel? The dynamics, the tech and integration. And yeah, I'm sure everybody has seen some of that already. The interior's got some nice touch. You see the ambient lighting? Looks very spacious. It is a little bit confusing. They're gonna make the same thing into a 4-door, I think. So, well, yeah, I want to drive one. And also, when they come out with the gas-powered one, right? This is the all-electric version. They are going to do a gas one on, I think, the same exact platform, so it's set up for that. So I believe the Hurricane Inline 6 is going into it. That will be probably more well-received than the all-electric one. I don't know if consumers are quite ready for all-electric American muscle cars, right? Ford didn't do that with the Mustang. They instead decided to go for the Mustang Mach-E. So it's like Mustang brand equity, but in a crossover, so the customers aren't necessarily cross-shopping it. With this, can you imagine somebody cross-shopping this with their previous Challenger Hellcat? Just not quite sure about it. But at least we still have some Hellcats, right? Durango Hellcat is continuing on. I seem to recall when this first came out, it was supposed to be a 1-year model, and that's it. So there was a lot of demand for it, but they've continued to build it. Not complaining, Durango Hellcat is hysterical fun, right? It's just utterly ridiculous rocket ship SUV. I once did launch control, it was in the winter, and I believe they measure it based off of wheel speed, so it spun all 4 wheels, and it must have hit 60 miles an hour wheel speed, because the little timer in the dash said 0 to 60 in 2.2 seconds, and it stored. So whoever got that car after me was like, why was the best time 2.2 0 to 60? That was just a funny experience in the Durango Hellcat. And then we have Fiat still bringing some Italian charm to American roads with the all-electric Fiat 500e. Some of the colors are pretty cool. It's like this rose gold on this one. There's the red edition, and oh, that's just mean. They're teasing us with things we can't have. The Topolino. It's so fun seeing these in Italy. My fiance and I just got engaged in Italy last year. We went to Milan and Florence, and seeing these on the streets were so much fun. Parallel parking was not a thing with these. They just kind of pulled in vertically to the curb. It was really funny to see that, but the Topolino, we don't get that in America, which it would be cool to see one of these in like around town, right? If you, maybe a beach town or maybe even a big city type of thing. Out of all the German luxury manufacturers, BMW, Audi, Mercedes, Porsche, BMW is the only one here this year. So we have the new X3 on display. We've got the M5 over there, we'll check that out. The 7 Series, this X5M competition in some sort of BMW individual green. I really do like the latest generation of the X5M and X6M competition. They're pretty beastly. The new 7 Series, very luxurious. Styling can be polarizing. I still don't love it. It's got the crystal headlights up front here. But we spent a week with a i7 loaded up. It was like almost $200,000 one, and it was so nice. The interior with the theater screen and everything was crazy cool. And then we have the new M5. Oh yeah. It's heavy, we'll get that out of the way, but it's insanely powerful. It's 4.4 liter twin turbo V8 now hybridized, and I liked the new 5 Series. I spent time with an i5 and I was surprised how much I liked it, so I really want to spend some time living with the new M5. And obviously the exciting news is we're getting the M5 touring in America. BMW probably saw Audi doing well with the RS6. I mean, Mercedes did have the E63 wagon, so we are now for the first time ever getting the M5 touring. So it's yes, I know it's heavy. I made jokes about it too, but it's stupendously quick. So we'll see what it's like to actually experience. I do like the new interior layouts too. What do you think? New M5, Audi still making the RS7 performance. We have not gotten an E63 of the new generation yet. No idea what's going on there with Mercedes, but there it is, the M5. Cadillac here has the Optic, that's the smallest little EV crossover. We have the new Vistic, which is like a baby Escalade, so that's the medium-sized SUV. We have the Lyriq, which has been out for a bit now. There is a new Lyriq V, which has been announced. So, well, the first ever full electric Cadillac V Series. I've liked my time with the Lyriq. We've had a couple little minor electronic software issues that we've dealt with when we're living with these things, but the interior is nice, the styling is very distinctive, and Cadillac is doing a very good job keeping their styling tight in, especially with these new EVs, right? When it's coming up in front in traffic or something, you can 100% tell that it is a Cadillac. There is no denying that, and they're keeping that design theme in line with the new Vistic and the Optic. So I've gotten to check out the Optic. This is my first time seeing the Vistic. You see the pattern, right? The IQ on the end is the name for their EV. Wow. All right, first impressions are positive. They're definitely continuing the trend of very nice feeling interiors, really cool material choices. A lot of screens, obviously. Everything has a lot of screens now. I expect to spend some time with the Escalade IQ at some point. Definitely interested to see what it's like. I'm sure it's going to be very luxurious, filled with technology, massive presence, 1000 E4. This, I believe, is the torque output in Newton meters, and that's what they did to try to standardize the engine and electric hierarchy for different trims. So if you look on the back of, for example, a Lyriq, let's see, if this one says 600 E4, that means it's all-wheel drive. And then if you look at even gas-powered Escalades on the back, because they also used to have the diesel, the Duramax, or the gas V8, they were just trying to like give a hierarchy of engine output. So this one here just says 600, 2025 Escalade. They give it a refresh, the gas version, so we're facing off with the electric one and the gas one. The enormous screens. Let's go ahead and hop in. We've got the enormous curved screen that goes from A-pillar to A-pillar. Got the AKG speakers on either side. We have a lower screen down here that'll control doors. It'll also control like your seats, your climate looks like. Let's see if I pull up this. That's a lot of screen real estate. Also, Super Cruise. Definitely want to spend some more time with the new Escalade and see what it's like. I'm a little bit sad the Cadillac that I really want to own, the new CT5V Blackwing, is not here on display, but I've gotten to drive that. We took it out on track. It was so much fun. Still available with that supercharged V8 and 6-speed manual rear-wheel drive, and it is just fantastic. Not all the displays are OEM. Some are enthusiast groups, local dealers. So we've got this one here, Perosangwe, twin turbo R8 owned by Jason, great guy. All of these cars I think are in the Chicago area. We've got the Arne's Fraud Taurus for the Cannonball record there. We have an SLS. This RX-7 apparently has a lot of history. Came from Japan, won a lot of things. Part of the Midnight Club, I guess. So this is apparently a very special RX-7. We have ourselves a McLaren 620 or MSO-X, and then which is I think a street legal version of the 620R. Vorsteiner 997 VRT, I believe the owner of this, also has a RWB, a very interesting spray painted Huracan. Ariel Atom 3S. Yep, that's what the sign says. I got it right. And then this thing, I had no idea what this is. It's from a movie. It's called The Wraith. I haven't seen that movie, but apparently it's a replica of the movie car. 720S with some aftermarket stuff and a AMS Alpha Omega twin turbo Huracan. The engine's not in this one right now. These things, I've seen it run. Jordan, the DriveWire, the owner of that car, at TX2K, FL2K. These things are just mind-blowing. The amount of power they're putting out, it's just insane, the twin turbo Lambos and R8s they're building. So there we go, there's an enthusiast group. And then if we come around the corner, we have a major dealer group with the supercar category. We have some dealer supercars here for the supercar gallery, starting off with the new Bentley Continental GTC. They've refreshed it. It's now a hybrid powertrain. Headlights have changed in design, but they're still very intricate and really cool. We've got the Urus Performante. Look at all that carbon hood, the most hardcore version of the Urus. And then Huracan Evo RIP. We are now onto the Temerario, right? So the end of the V10. No more Huracans, but still really nice to see it on display. And the Revuelto, the flagship V12 hybrid Revuelto. These are really starting to pop up now. For a while they were really trickling in, but now Revueltos are starting to hit dealers. We've got a couple Rolls Royces, Spectre here, this absolutely enormous Phantom. The size of the Phantom, you never can tell until you see it in person or like park next to a Range Rover and it's like essentially the size of the Range Rover. But here's something that's really interesting. This is the all-new Series 2 Rolls-Royce Ghost. So the Ghost has gotten an update. They've changed the front fascia styling. You see that new lighting. I'm not sure I love the new headlights. It doesn't look quite as imposing as I would expect of a Rolls-Royce, but the overall magnitude of a Ghost is still quite impressive. And we can check out the interior of this one. So it's a black badge. We have a mini Spirit of Ecstasy ornament here on the inside on the dash underneath the clock. And it looks like they got rid of the ghost light up lettering there on the dash. This trim is also a really cool pattern. And of course we have the starry headliner. So here's the Series 2 Ghost, an update on the Ghost platform. Still have rear hinged coach doors here. That black and red theme is definitely leaning towards sporty, and that's the black badge, right? That where they make it a little bit more powerful. Actually, what am I doing? Why am I closing the doors? Like, you just press the button and the doors close themselves. I forgot. So the Series 2 Ghost. What do you think of the styling? The rear, it looks like they just changed the taillight design slightly. But up front, I'm not entirely sold on it quite yet. The redesigned front fascia still have the downlit illuminated front grille here. There you go. Thanks to Perillo in Chicago for letting me check out the Series 2 Ghost. Here's the updated Cullinan 2, so they're changing the front fascia, tweaking it. They're essentially mid-cycle updates to keep them fresh, right? Cullinan has gotten a similar treatment. Man, these dealers got some pretty fancy cars on display. More Bentleys, this China Blue G63. They also have Ferrari, looks like. Ferrari. Oh, this must be used inventory. SF90, Roma, a couple Maseratis, and then 750S, Artura. Ooh, Aston Vantage. Oh, I love the new Vantage. This thing is a beast. They've given it a new interior, the new infotainment screen. It's got the frameless side view mirrors, and they also redesigned the front fascia. I think it looks way, way better. It looks like a baby 177 at this point, and the power is just stupendous. Spent a week with one of these up in the canyons in California. So much fun, so much fun. We have Artura Spider, it looks like a convertible, 750S. So that's cool. If you still want to see some supercars, they make it possible here with the Supercar Gallery. The dealer is bringing some inventory and display cars to the auto show. It's been many, many years since I've been to an auto show where these really, really high-end brands still put up display. I remember when I was a kid, Lamborghini would have a booth at the Detroit Auto Show. Lotus Emira, those are fun. Lamborghini, I remember that when the Murcielago was there and I got to see it as a kid. These days, the OEMs do not do that, the really, really high-end ones, but they have these dealer displays here. And I mean, you're gonna see a Revuelto, right? You could see the new Rolls Royce. Still pretty cool. Across from the Supercar Gallery, we have Lexus, and front and center, IS500 painted in a very nice shade of yellow. People, please order more colorful cars. We're getting bored of the blacks and whites and grays and silvers out there. We have an RC, the LC. Oh, I do love the LC500. The styling is just beautiful, and you can get a naturally aspirated 5-liter V8. These are very, very... One of the auto show things is they will oftentimes unscrew knobs and sometimes even remove like the carpets, because apparently people will hop in the vehicles and steal them, right? If you can unscrew the manual shifter knob, people will steal that. So you'll sometimes see that when their vehicles are unlocked during the auto show days. There is the GX 550, but here is the LX 600. They have come out with one that sits above this in the hierarchy, but oh, this black and red interior theme looks nice and sporty. But you see a difference in personality of this versus the Escalade, right? Escalade's like so over the top with the screens and the displays. This, honestly, it is a Lexus, but it feels a little more analog and rugged in comparison. That seems to be more of a theme for Toyota Lexus. You still have tons of physical buttons and everything. So it's kind of your personal preference if you want to go for the super digital luxury, or this is still luxurious, but again, not as over the top as some of the other American manufacturers. Oh, this is an F Sport model. That's why it explains the black and red interior. So that's the big boy LX. And then we have GX here, fitted out with some cool little overlanding camping gear, have an awning that folds out. That's pretty cool. And then, whoa, roof tent, little grill on the back, little cooker, and that wrap is iridescent color changing. That's not conventional Lexus for sure, but that's pretty interesting. So there's the Lexus booth. And finally, we get to Subaru. So remember I said some manufacturers go on the more simple side of auto shows these days. Subaru is not one of those manufacturers. Just take a look at this extravagant, immersive display. So they have vehicles scattered throughout, and Subaru is kind of a brand of two halves, right? They have stuff like this, where they're still building WRX enthusiast types vehicles. Oh my gosh, you can like visualize aerodynamics on this thing. Can you say downforce? But we have the WRX TS. We have ourselves a BRZ, so still enthusiast little sports cars. They're kind of carved out in this little corner here. And then we enter the forest. We enter the forest of Subaru. They have the flooring, they have plants. This is live plants and enhanced fragrance area. So some of these are apparently real. This one does not look real, but some of them are real apparently. We also have, every year they bring this here, and it's really, really nice. It's adorable. You can adopt some of these puppies. They're up for adoption, and they get some attention. So, hello. They get a lot of pets and attention at the auto show. So Subaru is clearly marketing more of just the whole lifestyle, the idea of Subaru, which I think is a really, really cool thing. This is super immersive. The integration is cool. We've got the National Park Foundation thing here, and then they just scatter vehicles throughout. This one's dirty. Clearly looks like it's been used with the little kayak thing up top. There's a giant log for us to go through. This is as if it were in the snow. We go through the Subaru Welcome Center. We have like a configurator here with different paint palettes, and then the full main stage screen here, which is digital screen there and also on the ground. So like this would change. Looks like a road right now I can walk on with the grass there, or the naturey things, plants. There's a turntable up there, and they'll show this is the new 2025 Forester Hybrid and the 2026 Subaru Forester Wilderness. This is so cool, like being parked on a big screen, checking out a car, and you can see the difference between, there's a turntable here, between some of these booth displays. Like Subaru goes all out here, and then some of the other ones where they just park the cars back there. So different investments they put into these shows, different level of activation. There's the new Forester Hybrid, and then yeah, that's the Subaru booth. Always really cool. I can't even imagine how much it costs for them to build something this big here at the show. All right, that is essentially a walkthrough of the entire 2025 Chicago Auto Show. I've spent about 3 hours essentially nonstop going from booth to booth, display to display, car to car. Now, I could have spent more time getting in and out of different vehicles. A lot of them are unlocked. You can hop in and check them out. I could also have done the different test drive ride-along experiences. There's the one here with the Broncos. There was a Jeep one that I showed you. There's also the EV one. I may go back there and try out some of those because I still have more time today, but it gives you kind of an idea of the size of the show, the magnitude, how many cars on display, how many different manufacturers. That's a quick look at the, maybe not that quick, it's been going for quite a while, at the coolest new cars coming in 2025. Which ones are you the most excited about? If I had to pick, obviously the GTD is cool, the Rivian R3X is cool, the R2 is going to be cool, the Lucid Gravity is really interesting, but above all, you guys got to know, the ZR1. I am so excited for the ZR1. It's going to be just absolutely ridiculous. I have no intention of getting rid of my Z06 to buy a ZR1, but who's gonna say no to an extra 400 horsepower? I mean, it's gonna be fun. Anyways, hope you guys enjoyed this vlog checking out the Chicago Auto Show with me. Comment below which car you're most excited about, what you think is the coolest thing coming. Thanks for watching.